What if I told you that an entire Roman army just vanished without a single confirmed trace? Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack the ultimate historical cold case. We're talking about a scenario where there's no final battle on record, absolutely no survivors returning home, and zero official explanation from the greatest empire on Earth. For over 2,000 years, historians have desperately searched for the truth behind this vanishing act. So let's dive right in and look at exactly what happened, or at least what the scattered records tell us about the day a whole Roman legion simply dropped off the face of the earth.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the sheer scale of the mystery. 5,000. We aren't talking about a small scouting patrol getting lost in the woods here. Nearly 5,000 elite Roman soldiers, highly trained, heavily armed, and deeply disciplined men, vanished entirely. It's baffled historians for over 2 millennia. Imagine the logistical nightmare of losing 5,000 people today without a trace, let alone in an era where Rome kept meticulous, obsessive records of their military operations. The void left behind in the historical record is, frankly, deafening.
And that leads us to some seriously unsettling questions. It plays out almost exactly like a true crime investigation, just, from antiquity. Did these 5,000 men die in some brutal, unrecorded massacre out in the desert? Were they captured alive, shackled in chains, and forced to live out their days thousands of miles away from their families? Or, and this is perhaps the most chilling thought, did Rome deliberately erase the truth forever to cover up an incredibly embarrassing, catastrophic failure? To understand how something like this could even happen, we need to look at the timeline. So, during this period, the Roman Empire was the most powerful civilization on Earth. No question. Its legions were legendary. They conquered nations, built vast networks of roads, and pretty much defeated every single enemy they faced. But then, we hit 53 BC. One Roman legion marches into enemy territory and never returns. This disaster shocked Rome so deeply that even the great Julius Caesar himself wanted revenge. The shockwave of this disappearance actually echoed through time, leading us to centuries later, where mysterious reports began surfacing from ancient China. But to understand that wild connection, we have to start with the fateful mission itself. A doomed quest for glory, Marcus Licinius Crassus and the invasion of Parthia. So the commander leading this faithful march, Crassus, was one of the richest men in Roman history. Honestly, he was so wealthy, he basically funded his own army. But for him, money just wasn't enough. He desperately craved military glory to match the legendary reputations of guys like Julius Caesar and Pompey. So, fueled by a pretty astronomical ego and completely ignoring the frantic warnings from his own advisors, Crassus decides to invade the mighty Parthian Empire.
And he definitely didn't pack light. Crassus brought an army of around 40,000 soldiers into this invasion. Just think about that number for a second, 40,000. This was a massive, confident, and highly experienced fighting force. They had every reason to believe they were invincible. But the tragic irony here is that despite their heavy armor, their past victories, and their immense confidence, these men were completely, tragically unprepared for the brutal reality of what was waiting for them out in the desert.
The deadly Parthian trap. The disaster at Carrhae. This is exactly where all that Roman confidence hit a brick wall. Near the town of Carrhae, the Romans encountered an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced before. They marched right into a perfectly executed ambush. You have to look at the stark tactical mismatch here. On one side, you have the Roman infantry. They're weighed down by heavy shields, stuck in dense, static formations, and completely exhausted by the blazing desert heat. Pitted against them are the Parthian horse archers. We're talking thousands of highly skilled riders who are incredibly mobile, constantly staying just out of reach and delivering this deadly, endless rain of arrows. Every single time the heavy Roman infantry tried to advance to fight hand-to-hand, the enemy simply rode away. It was a literal tactical nightmare. The Romans were trapped in a fight where they couldn't even touch their attackers. This trap systematically dismantled the Roman force in 3 devastating steps. Step 1, an endless rain of arrows. The Parthians would ride away, only to return seconds later, pouring arrows into the Roman ranks, hour after hour, until the Roman shields were literally bristling with them. Step 2, the Roman formations collapse. Under this immense psychological and physical pressure, panic spread like wildfire, and that legendary Roman discipline completely shattered. Step 3, the heavy cavalry smash. Once the Romans were exhausted, broken, and terrified, the Parthians sent in their heavy armored cavalry to smash into the surviving ranks. It was an absolute slaughter. It became one of the worst defeats in Roman military history. Commander Crassus was killed in the chaos. Actually, legend has it the Parthians poured molten gold down his throat to mock his infamous greed. His quest for glory ended right there in dust and blood, with thousands upon thousands of his soldiers dying in the sand. But if this was just a terrible military defeat, we wouldn't be calling it the ultimate cold case today. The story doesn't end with the dead, it continues with the survivors.
The missing Roman prisoners, the ultimate historical cold case. The crucial turning point here is what happened after the dust finally settled at Carrhae. Ancient records hint at a twist that changes this from a tragic battle into a profound, centuries-long mystery. Thousands of Roman soldiers actually weren't killed. They were taken alive as prisoners of war by the Parthians.
And then they vanished. They completely disappeared from all Western historical records. No rescue missions found them, no ransoms were ever recorded, not a single escapee made it back to tell the tale. So why did they disappear forever? Well, the Parthians likely realized the immense value of having 5,000 disciplined Roman soldiers. Instead of executing them, historians believe Parthia systematically relocated these men to their extreme eastern frontiers to serve as border guards. They intentionally isolated them as far from Roman spies, diplomats, and rescue parties as geographically possible. Okay, so we know thousands of prisoners were taken alive, and we know they were purposefully erased from Western records. But here is where it gets incredibly fascinating. Centuries later, historians discovered reports of a mysterious village located far, far away in ancient China. What makes this village so intriguing? Well, according to these historical reports, some of the people there supposedly fought using distinctly Roman-style formations, tactics that were completely 100% foreign to that region. Could these villagers be the actual descendants of our missing legion? If that theory holds any truth at all, just consider this staggering number: 4,000 miles. That is the incredible distance these captive prisoners were forced to march. It perfectly answers the core mystery of why they disappeared forever. By relocating them 4,000 miles deep into the east to guard foreign borders, the Parthians ensured these men were totally out of Rome's reach. They were dropped into an entirely different world, forced to build brand new lives and integrate their military discipline into a completely foreign land. The lost Roman legion remains one of history's greatest unanswered questions. While there's no definitive proof to lock this cold case completely, the clues left behind are absolutely mesmerizing. The ultimate takeaway here is that history is rarely as neat and tidy as a textbook makes it seem. Sometimes it doesn't end with definitive answers, it just leaves us with these captivating mysteries. Did these 5,000 elite soldiers die in obscurity as prisoners? Or did they survive, adapt, and build new lives in a land Rome never even imagined?